Fulham, they will beat 1-0 at home to Championship side Southampton over the weekend, and their gaffer, Marco Silva, made 9 changes to his side. That's despite sitting 10th in the league, 12 points clear of the relegation zone. Newcastle, they're also out after losing 3-1 at home to Man City. Their boss, Eddie Howe, spoke to the media after the game and said that attention now fully turns to another massive game tomorrow night.
My focus is really short term, and it's trying to win the game that's in front of me, and that's Barcelona in the Champions League. I think we have to be, as much as it's easy to be very negative in this moment, I understand we've gone out the FA Cup, but we have the biggest game in the club's history coming up in no time at all. We've got to get the players ready for that. We've got no time to dwell on this.
Listen, I understand it because sadly the FA Cup has taken a bit of a back seat now, certainly with clubs that have got European football on the cards. I get that. I'm just starting, and I never thought I'd say this, even more so on our show, but I'm just starting to fall out of love with the FA Cup. Every so often they change things. There wasn't one 3 p.m. Saturday game in the FA Cup, which I think is scandalous, right? When I was a kid growing up, I know things change. I get it, you have to move on. But it was always 3 p.m. on a Saturday, right? Obviously didn't have as much live telly or anywhere near. The way the draw's done now, I know they'll have fun, laugh and joke, and I get it. It's a new, younger audience, but I just like the old school days where they take the bags, the FA bags, take number 7, Brighton and Hove Albion. I like tradition, and I sort of feel that as soon as you start taking away all the tradition, it's just another excuse or another reason why it's justified for the bigger clubs to rest their superstar players and not give the respect it deserves.
I grew up loving the FA Cup, right? But I almost feel like, do you know what the problem is? Because of the way the European situation has kind of changed in terms of the amount of games now you play, the competitions are bigger. I can understand why the likes of Newcastle, Man City potentially, because they're still in the Champions League, would rest players and rotate the squads. I was a little bit disappointed with Fulham and even Sunderland because neither of those teams are going to go down this season, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it's the only competition now you're still involved with, along with the Premier League. Just go and have a go. There's no reason why. Look at Palace last year. Had a go, the best day in the club's history.
So very rare that happens, right?
It's rare, but you know what I mean. They like Fulham, Sunderland. If they'd have gone through, I know the Port Vale, it's a dream story, but like other teams that are still in the FA Cup, most of them have got Champions League or European aspirations. So Newcastle is still in there, but they've gone. Man City is still in there. Arsenal got Champions League as well as the EFL Cup, pushing for the Premier League. So it was almost like a clear run for these guys to go, do you know what? We're not going to go down. Let's give it everything to try and win this competition.
Without a doubt.
Do you know what I mean? And that's where I was a little bit like, certainly for Fulham and Sunderland.
9 changes he made, Marco Silva.
9. So it was a bit of a shock to me, but I do think the FA Cup now it used to be for me one of that premium competitions where everyone loved it. I do think now, and clubs are now starting to go, and do you know what? I'm just going to play a second string squad. Even Chelsea are still in it. They're still in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So they've got there's other priorities for these clubs, but for Fulhams and Sunderlands, where this is their last competition they're left in, just have a go.
I don't get that.
Go and have a go.
I don't get that.
But again, you have to blame UEFA because there's so many games now.
That's right. And there's so much money connected to the other
That's the problem.
You win the FA Cup, you get, hardly anything compared to. Also, if you look now forward to the latter stages of the FA Cup quarterfinals, all over the Easter weekend, and that used to be traditionally, Easter weekend was always Premier League football, right?
Yeah.
And now it's FA Cup football. And I love it. I love FA Cup. I just, like semi-finals when I was growing up used to be at Hillsborough, they used to be at Villa Park or Highbury or Old Trafford or Spurs had a few. Now they're all at Wembley. It's a bit like, no, you got to earn the right to get to Wembley.
I've always had a problem with that because if you're a lesser club, right, that traditionally doesn't win trophies or get that far in competitions, you get into a semi-final, which is at Wembley, is effectively getting to the final.
You've done it,
because the fans are getting a day out of Wembley.
Yeah.
So I preferred it when it was elsewhere, but also I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. The FA Cup, is that still played on the same day as other?
So it depends what year it is, right? Last year it wasn't. It was either last year or the year before. It wasn't the final game. It's usually the final game of the season.
Yeah, see, I hate.
You can't not have.
FA Cup should be a day of its own.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's the only game on the TV or that day. But as soon as you start putting games on the same day, it just.
Well, let's take calls, show a bit later on. We're gearing up to live commentary of the last semi-final. The last game in the FA Cup in the 5th round. West Ham are there in action against Brentford. So we'll take calls now. We'll have team news ahead of that, and we'll ask West Ham fans how important the competition to them and what they expect. But we'll take your calls from football fans. Does the FA Cup get enough respect? And also, what I'm inclined to hear from, if you're of the age of about 16, 17 up to maybe 23, 24. I'd love to get your view on what you think the FA Cup's about.
Like my kids, I know my eldest, he's only 12, but he's all Champions League. FA Cup is like, oh.
That's terrible to hear. Now we're taking your calls on all things FA Cup. Does it get enough respect? I also asked the younger generation to call up because I grew up with the FA Cup as a big deal. But I sort of get the feeling the young brigade nowadays don't really care. Josh, maybe he's one of those. Hello, Josh.
Hi guys, you okay?
I'm good, man. How are you, Josh? You good? You well?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, mate.
How old are you, Josh?
Just thinking about it. I'm 20 years old.
Okay, great, perfect. What do you think when you hear it's FA Cup weekend? Does it get in the way of Premier League, or are you excited about it?
No, I get excited about it. It's always good.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of people I know that are in the top 6 sort of clubs. I just sort of think, oh yeah, it's FA Cup. We'll just leave it for this week. We'll put out a youth side or something. Like Liverpool. My mate's a Liverpool fan, and when they got beat by Plymouth a couple of years ago, they were just he was sort of like, well, I don't care.
Do you know, Josh? I get that. I totally get that. For a side like Liverpool, that over the last 6-7 years have won absolutely everything, I kind of understand it.
6-7.
Yeah, I kind of understand that. But I know what you mean. Like for a Leeds who haven't won anything for a long time, I understand why to you it's like, oh my goodness, the FA Cup, like we've got a chance of winning it. So I do think, like for Man City, if they went out, it is a little bit like, well, I mean, he's won like 6 Premier League titles. He's won the Champions League, he's won FA Cup, he's won League Cups.
Josh, thanks for have you phoned talkSPORT before, Josh?
No, I haven't. This is my first time ever, actually.
Oh, we're very honoured to have you on. First of many, Josh. Thanks, man. Have a lovely day.
Cheers, mate. Take it easy.
Thanks, man. What are the chances going from Josh, who's a Leeds fan,
to Josh,
who's a Leeds fan?
It's the same brother.
Have you put the same? Let's find out. Josh too. Hello, Josh.
Hi there, you okay?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. First time caller as well, and Josh and Leeds fan.
Right, hold on. You're not 20, are you?
No, I'm 10 years old, unfortunately.
How many?
10.
You're 10?
No, I'm 30, 10 years older.
Oh, right. I thought you said I'm 10 years old. I'm like, well, he's quite old for 10, if I'm being honest. So you're 30. You're just on the cusp of whether or not you grew up with great FA Cup moments in your life, right?
So that's what I want to call about. So obviously, FA Cup, it means a lot to me. So I can remember when I was a little boy, 10, in fact, my parents gave me a book about FA Cup, and I just read that, and it just made so much. And I think the younger generation today, like Benty said, it's all about Champions League, but for me, it's the FA Cup, and that's why when I see teams playing weaker teams, I'm like, oh, just field a strong team and then push for it. That's why I'm really excited about Leeds. Obviously, that's why I thought I'd call, because I never know when I'll get this chance again. Obviously, we're in the finals now, but yeah.
Oh, good work.
Yeah, really.
All right. Have you phoned talkSPORT before, Josh?
Yeah, 2 minutes ago.
No, first time caller.
First time. Good work. I like that. Thanks, Josh.
All right, cheers.
Right, let me ask you this. Hold on. What are the chances going from one Josh?
Nah, shut up.
Wait, to Josh 2, and then the third caller being Josh. What are the chances?
No percent.
Tell me what they are.
1%.
All right, let's say hello.
To Carl.
Good afternoon. To Josh. Jack. Hello, Jack. How are you?
Oh, hello.
Hello, Jack. You all right?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, mate. How you doing?
Good.
All right, lads?
Good.
Hi, mate. You all right?
Can you just pretend your name's Jock?
No.
Josh, is that all right?
Jock.
Oh, yeah, Jock. How are you, Jack? Go on, off you go, pal. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 26.
Okay.
So just off the cusp of your limits.
That's
but,
fine.
But mate, honestly, the FA Cup is so special,
Oh,
and I
great.
get what you were saying about the the Fulhams and the Sunderlands. They had a great opportunity, but I'm a Reading fan, right? And seeing Port Vale do what they did, that's what it's all about for me personally. Like, I remember back in the semi-final, we had Arsenal 12, 13 years ago. I went with my whole family. It was a massive day out, and Benty was right, because it kind of is our final, but at the same time, we took them to extra time that day, and you talk about Champions League and the bigger competitions, and I get it, but the real magic surely is for those smaller clubs to be able to feel like they've got a shot here, and I'm pretty sure if you get FA Cup, don't you get Europe?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
For that opportunity, mate, genuinely, I think the FA Cup, unlucky Fulham, unlucky, Sunderland, but go on Vale for me. If they get to Wembley, that would be just brilliant, brilliant football.
Yeah, great call. Have you called before?
Actually, mate, it's my first time caller.
A hat trick of first time callers. Brilliant work. Thanks, Jack. The first of many. Thanks for your time, man.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Mate. If someone like Port Vale get to the final and they're playing a team like Arsenal, and Arsenal are in European football, Port Vale get European football irrelevant of win or lose, right?
I think potentially.
Is that right? Is that right? If Port Vale get to the final,
Yeah, I
I
think
think
so.
that's right.
And they're currently bottom of League One.
I know, that's insane, isn't it?
Do you know what's mad? I was wondering this, right? As this conversation was kind of evolving, I was having to think.
Yeah.
How do clubs say bottom? Unless your father supported that particular club,
Yeah.
and it's in your family, I understand why then
Yeah.
you support the club. But how do clubs, predominantly at the bottom of the Premier League, grow their fan base? Because the youngsters today, all they see is Champions League.
Yes, that's right.
So how do they grow their?
I would imagine a lot of it is local support.
It must be.
You grow up in the area, you're going to go and support
Yeah,
the Vale, right?
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it must be
great. It's very
hard.
difficult. Yeah. Because back in the day, you could only go and support your team because you didn't have 24/7 football.
No.
You didn't have social media. You didn't have all the goals. You didn't have live matches. So effectively, you can sit at home wherever that home is, and you can support Barcelona.
Yeah.
Because you can see all their home games if you've got La Liga Plus like you have on that stick.
Yeah, no, not on those sticks, just La Liga Plus.
Oh right, fine.
It's an app.
So you can. But yeah, I would imagine so. That's why they're all in
hard,
trouble,
that.
right? That's
Yeah.
why they're all in trouble.